The Tour's second day in the Pyrenees was July the 19th, exactly 100 years since the very first stage there. It finished in the same town too, bagneres de Luchon. But it didn't just pay tribute to the history of the race in the mountains, it added to it with a moment of high drama at altitude on the Porte de Balès.
Well, that peloton now, look at the size of it now. It is slowly, but in the last 2 kilometres rather quickly, been split up here. You are in the heart of the Balès now, which is the region here. And this is and there's an attack now because he's lost his pacemaker. He's stretching Alberto Contador. We go 1-to-1 as we head up towards 25 kilometres to the finish. Slipping away off the back of the race there too was Moreno now for the Amigo Farmo team. And going off to, or looking under pressure on the left, was 41. That was Ivan Basso, also with Cadel Evans. And let's not forget Thomas Voeckler setting a lone trail here at the front, the champion of France now. He's the rider who's getting the marker. He is approximately 2.5 kilometres from the summit. And if he can get over the top with about 2 or 3 minutes in hand, he will win the day for France. And how fitting would that be today?
Yeah, I'd have to say, Phil, as we catch here Turgot going backwards, he only really needs a minute over the top of this climb because he's a fairly good descender. And I don't see any of these guys, except maybe Sammy Sanchez, bridging a minute's gap on the descent.
Now, what is Alberto Contador feeling like here, being dictated to by the maillot jaune? And one thing's for sure now, Paul, Andy Schleck shows no respect to Contador.
None at all. He wants to honour the yellow jersey. He's used his teammates, he's eliminated the rest of the field, and now he wants to try and dictate the pace.
This is the group just behind. Carlos Sastre sitting on the back wheel of number 21 Armstrong, the 2008 winner against the 7 times winner at the back of this group. They are fighting for every second now as they come towards the summit. How's that for a picture?
That is a magical picture of the Pyrenees, and actually, Phil, it's rather strange to see it quite like this because normally the Pyrenees are very often clouded.
They are indeed, and this man, well, head and shoulders above the rest right now as he looks at the slopes heading up towards the banner on the summit. 22.8 kilometres to go. We will top out at 21.5 kilometres to go. 1.3, so he's looking now for the action on the road.
This group now, Phil, has swelled, and now that is a little bit of a surprise to me. The move there's coming from Gadret.
It's a little bit like yesterday here now. The 2 leaders have slowed the pace down because they're hitting each other and they're not giving an inch and going nowhere. So the other boys are going to have a go. Why not? Levi Leipheimer getting in behind John Gadret. That man, Alexander Vinokurov, is back up here as well. Sanchez has got back in the action. 181. Well, this is incredible riding by Thomas Voeckler, and he deserves to win the stage. He's got rid of all 9 men that was in the breakaway with him. He's veritably sprinting to the top of the Porte de Balès. It is a very, very fast descent. They're going to cover that 21 kilometres in about 20 minutes to the finish.
Well, Alberto Contador bouncing on his pedals there, and there's John Gadret. John Gadret is a rider who rose to prominence a little while back, Phil, as a man who finished high up in the big climbs of the Giro d'Italia.
Pace being set at the moment by the new phenomenon from Canada here. This is rider Hejidal, nearest camera with the orange helmet. He's finding his legs in the Pyrenees now, and he's looking for a top 10 finish in Paris.
The champion of France here rides in front of a French crowd towards the top of the high spot of today's stage, the Porte de Balès. He really does rise to the occasion, this young man.
Alessandro Berlan has been joined at the moment by Aitor Perez too. So they're fighting out 2nd and 3rd place on the climb. They too will go over the top. Well clear as we see the move from Andy Schleck. I'm glad our cameras cut back to that one. And it's not Contador yet who's reacted. Now he has. What? It was Vinokurov.
Well, Vinokurov came
what's happened? His chain's off. Schleck's chain's off.
Yeah,
well, his chain has jammed and Contador's gone. Well, this is terrible. Well, for Schleck. Well, look at this.
Well, this is the big panic now. He's got to get himself back into this race, and this is so unfortunate. This is why you have a big problem when you don't have any teammates alongside you. He's probably lost around about 20 seconds here.
At this moment in time, he could be losing his yellow jersey. What an incredible event this is. Now all the spectators and a little assistance from the neutral service, he's back on his way. That's when it happened. His chain, I don't know, it hasn't snapped, it just came off the wheels.
It just came off at that point there. Alexander Vinokourov came up alongside him. These guys have now seen the possibility of winning the Tour de France. This is when fair play, Phil, has been thrown out of the window. But can this man ride himself back into the yellow jersey? Because this guy has got the form today. He was actually just putting Alberto Contador onto the ropes in a boxing match this afternoon when he had that badly timed mechanical incident.
Well, Contadors, we see the summit here of the Porte de Balles. The champion of France takes this highest climb in the Pyrenees so far. Will get higher. As he goes over the top now, he's about to plunge down this mountain. This is the in-fight. Now, Alberto Contador, joined by Sanchez. Gadre is still here. Menchov is still here. But gone is the yellow jersey. Now, this is going to be the chase of his life.
He is going to be very angry right now because he will know they're taking advantage of a mechanical mishap as he rides past everyone there. Rides past Armstrong as if he's standing still. He comes up to Andreas Kloden as if he's standing still. This man now will be a man possessed. He'll ride with anger, and I think he'll ride himself back up to Alberto Contador. Contador's move there, I think, was a move of panic.
Well, Contador doesn't really know what happened there. He was just starting to recover, I think, as the chain came off and he went by him. There's Dave in the clean bottle. He is going to be pretty excited himself running up there. But as we now see the yellow jersey applying the tourniquet, kick and kick again. Now we're seeing just how much strength this man Andy Schleck really has, and he also descends very well.
Well, I'll tell you what, there he is just in the bottom, Phil. He's probably about 15 seconds down on this leading trio. Denny Menchov is trying to put the nail into the coffin of Andy Schleck. This is the performance of a champion.
Contador is almost looking back here to see where he is coming. I don't know whether he's waiting or not, but he's very conscious of the location of Andy Schleck as he tries to sprint clear. Schleck has caught the back wheel of Robert Gessing and he's going to have to recover quickly and keep on going here. Time is running out for that yellow jersey right now. He's up behind Leipheimer.
Well, he won't give up. He's caught them group by group. He's now up to Ryder Heyserdahl and John Gadre. Excuse me, out of the way, guys. I've got to get myself back into this race. Alberto Contador has seen this as a chance to try and win the Tour de France this afternoon.
I know everybody wants the shots, but they're going to have to move those motorbikes out the way right now. He's in amongst this very select group containing Vinokourov again. Ryder Heyserdahl is on the shoulder of Heyserdahl. He is pushing his way through as the flag of New Zealand flies there. Contador is still trying to open the gap, but the risk on the descent now, Paul.
There's going to be risk, but I tell you what, you get behind this man in the yellow jersey this afternoon if you want to, because he is not asked for a help from anybody else in the Tour de France. This is courage at its absolute best. Andy Schleck has not asked for anything from anyone in this group here, and he's riding himself slowly but surely back up. I still make it, Phil, around about a 15-second gap that he's got to bridge, and I reckon he'll do it on the first few corners on the descent.
Well, there's nobody who can help him. That's the truth of the answer now. Where you're on the yellow jersey, you're on the defensive, it's down to you. You've got to recover, you've got to catch back up, and the gap is there at the moment. His overall lead in the Tour de France in one cruel blow has been currently halved. Once we go over the top of this, we've talked about this being one of the most dangerous descents in the Pyrenean chain, where speeds will hit over 100 kilometers an hour, and then there's a chicane right in the middle of those high speeds. Gessing has gone under the impetus of the raid here.
I make the gap, Phil, around about 20 seconds between Alberto Contador and the yellow jersey of Andy Schleck, and Schleck is still going. He's still riding on his own, not asking for anybody to come forward and look after him, and he's dispatching riders one by one. Just sitting on his wheel now is Jürgen Vandenbroek. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else there, but I'm not sure there. You can just see Alexander Vinokourov. Levi Leipheimer is there as well.
100 years in the Pyrenees, and what a day. The champion of France goes first over the top of the mountain, and the yellow jersey is placed in difficulty. These mountains continue to make the stories, don't they? Over the top now with the time gap. What did you see the time? I didn't see 4¼ minutes on the leader. That doesn't matter. It's the seconds between Contador and yellow. And look at the face of this now. He's going to rip down this mountain.
I make it 13 seconds over the top, Phil. 13 to 14 seconds over the top, and that's not very much on the descent. It'll be around about 200 meters. If this man can take 1 or 2 risks in the corners, he should be able to pull himself back into the Tour.
Well, settle down for the dizziest descent we've probably ever seen in the Tour de France. And I'm just glad I'm not on a motorbike or following these boys. It is long, fast superhighway. We know they can hit speeds well in excess of 100 kilometers an hour. And we're on the way down now, and it gets tricky towards the end. And what a time to make a descent. You've got to bridge 13 seconds to the 2-time winner of the Tour de France.
Well, Andy Schleck now has got to do all of this completely on his own. Look at the way he's using all of that road. Excuse me, Mr. Motorbike, get out of the way, because I am going faster than you. I'm going to ride myself back into this race. 15 kilometers to go at that banner for the leader, Thomas Vogler. He's not too much worried about what's going on behind. He doesn't even know any of the drama in the Tour de France this afternoon. He is looking at conserving a 1.5-minute advantage over Balin and Perez, and still 4 minutes over Contador. He's trying to take the stage victory for France, and what a victory that would be with the French national champions jersey on his shoulders.
The yellow jersey has to bridge 13 seconds. He has to take chance. What might have been a gain for him today is turning out to be a loss for Andy Schleck. He cannot afford to lose time to Contador.
I tell you what, Andy Schleck will be doing today, Phil, the descent of his life. And I still believe that he actually had Alberto Contador on the ropes there for a moment.
Well, he is now having to make the biggest descent of his life to stay in yellow. Oh, that's a very shaky turn. He's going to have to kick hard out of that one.
Yes, it is, but this man is looking today to keep himself in the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, and he will use every centimetre of every corner as he goes down this descent. I'm looking now at the group Contador stretching the advantage over Andy Schleck. I have an unofficial time gap at 25 seconds.
15 kilometers to go for Schleck and Van den Broek here. Looking again, it's still 23 seconds is the gap. They're closing in all the time. As we look again at the incident here, which happened, I don't quite know what happened there. He really kicked, his wheel came off the ground, but that's nothing to do with Contador, and you can't blame Contador for pushing on the advantage. This isn't in the first 10 kilometers of the race.
I have to admit that I'm not really sure that this is a real fair play move by Alberto Contador. I think it's a man who is desperate to win the Tour de France, and he's taking any possible advantage of a mechanical incident to try and get off the front and win.
Well, I think that's a bit unfair comment, but 9.9 kilometers to go for these riders on the way down at the moment, and the man who is going to win for France today is going to be Thomas Vogler.
Well, I think, Phil, the reason that Contador is taking advantage of a mechanical mishap by an adversary here right now is because he was not confident that could actually get away from Andy Schleck.
You may also note that it's not Contador setting the pace. It really has never been Contador setting the pace. He has always sat on the pace of Menchov and Sanchez as they continue at 4:19, the gap between the yellow and the front, and it is 25 seconds. Andy Schleck is losing ground to the Contador group.
Yeah, he's got himself a 25-second deficit at the moment. It is now starting to stretch out. He got himself back to around about 20, and now I think on this easier part of the descent, he's going to lose a big chunk of time.
We are looking at the leader descending like a stone into the finish in Luchon. He's holding a 4-minute 18-second gap. This is Thomas Vogler. Fittingly, a French champion, going to win on the day we celebrate 100 years of the Pyrenees. 10 kilometers to go for the two riders who are chasing him here, Balin and Perez. Somewhere there, we haven't seen him, is Johan van Summeren behind, and then the group Contador, and then behind that is the group Schleck. Now Schleck versus Contador, the difference now is 23 seconds.
Well, you did tell me a few moments ago that Contador...
Oh, my goodness!
Little Tommy Vogler takes a few risks going around that corner.
Well, a nice check on the back wheel, but that's how much Thomas Vogler wants to win. That was the chicane coming off the high speed, where they're approaching those bends at about 80 kilometers an hour.
Vinokourov has now caught back up to the group as well.
24 seconds as we speak. The computer here is running around like a very busy machine today. And yes, boy, Alexander Vinokourov has got back on the descent here. Very fine piece of descending. As Schleck drives on, Jürgen van den Broek doesn't seem able to help Andy Schleck. As we get back to the Contador group here, it is Menchov and Sanchez, the men who fight for third in the podium, who are driving this race to the finish.
I wonder what Luke Roberts is thinking about this situation, Phil, sitting on the back of that group as well, because he was in that early breakaway, and he's now seeing the great champions of the Tour de France fight it out on the descent of the Porte de Balès.
Well, what a dramatic Tour de France this has been since the day we set out from Rotterdam, when two riders crashed in the prologue. That in itself was unprecedented, and the Tour stories are still being written here in the Pyrenees.
And Alberto Contador's right on the front of this group, with Menchov in second place and Sammy Sanchez in third.
Well, Luke Roberts here has come back here along with the quick-step rider, which is Redder, and they've rejoined the chase. Andy Schleck has got himself a bit of help now. Jurgen van der Broek, he's fighting for 5th place overall, don't forget, and was hoping to go higher. And the men who sit in 3rd and 4th are up ahead, so he's got to ride whenever he can. There'll be no help from Vinokourov now. His team leader is up in that front group.
Well, Vinokourov has got to this group. He will just sit there like a limpet mine on the back of the group and wait to see what happens later on the descent. Jurgen van der Broek riding with Andy Schleck here. Schleck, I think, will feel a little bit disappointed at losing out in a situation like this, because it's not from his physical ability that he's losing the Tour de France here. It's actually a mechanical failure. Vogler inside of 3 kilometers to go. He's actually pretty much now filling the outskirts of Luchon as he drops down the wider part of this road. Very fast descent now. We're touching speeds of around about at 90 to 95 kilometers an hour.
Well, we're looking at the moment, Contador is 28 seconds, so Schleck has come back just a little bit, and he's holding on to yellow. It's going to be a desperate countdown once Contador is under that banner down in Luchon. This man's going to make it first. He's going to win for France, but who will be the new leader tonight? That is now the question. There is the tricolor jersey, the champion of France. We're coming slowly off the mountain now as he heads in towards the last 2 kilometers for Thomas Voigtler. There it is, a little look over the shoulder. He's well safe.
Well, he's well safe. He's looking for a minute and a half if he wants to look back down the road to find the Ballan group. But he's a real professional. He wanted to make sure there was no last-minute surprises coming. The next banner that he will see will be 1 kilometer to go. And I think there will be a rather jubilant Thomas Voigtler comes into the final kilometer of this race.
As we now see the chase here, Contador, and a little bit of move by Sanchez because he comes down quicker, that much better than everybody else. Contador quickly scurries across to try and grab him. Menchov is right there as well, Redder, and then Roberts. This is a huge result for Luke Roberts as well.
It's an amazing performance by Luke Roberts, and he will remember this day for the rest of his career.
Well, everybody fighting for wheels now as they charge off this mountain. Scramble, this is Vinokourov trying to hang on to Andy Schleck. These are desperate moments for Schleck. His team made all of the pace running up the hill. Then it was down to him. He launched the attack. We now know what's happened. Quick look at the computer. 32 seconds. He's behind by a second at the moment in the yellow jersey race. 1 kilometer. We've come home to Luchon, and this is a town which has welcomed the Tour as many as most, and he's got all the time in the world. This has been a remarkable escapade by the champion of France, Thomas Voigtler. Listen to that crowd. Now he can smile.
Well, he's a very popular professional bike rider, Phil, and he probably doesn't know the drama that's going on behind him, because the drama could see a change in the yellow jersey at the end of the day.
He doesn't care about the Tour de France overall. He's 69th and he's 77 minutes behind either Contador or Schleck. But he wins the stage, and a champion of France on the day we celebrate 100 years of the Pyrenees has brought it on home.
Well, it's a fitting end for this celebration, Phil, for the French and the French national champion to take the glory on a magnificent day. Here he is into the final 150 meters of the second Pyrenean act.
He pays homage here. Christian Prudhomme in the back there, all smiles, the director of the Tour de France. They've made 4 vicious days here in the Pyrenees to celebrate it. That looks like the Secretary of State there is in charge of sport, Ramayad, looking on from behind and applauding him as she comes home in the leader's car. The battle of the second place. The Contador battle, by the way, is hovering at the moment. It is now 35 seconds in favour of Contador for yellow by 4 tonight.
Well, it's going to be very close as they come in. They're pulling the cars out of the stops there at 2 kilometers to go, and that's probably because a little bit further up the road We've still got the Garmin Transitions team pulling out of the way here. This is a battle. This is a real pursuit here as they come into the final few kilometers. And for Andy Schleck, what a day this has been for him.
Well, the computers are now saying it is 40 seconds advantage Contador, which puts him in the lead by 9 seconds. It'll all come real in a moment. Andy Schleck is going to do the time trial of his life here as the former time trial champion of his country. He's going to have to race to the line because quite literally now, that jersey is every second counts. He's at 2 kilometers. On the inside, the former world champion being challenged by a first-time rookie, and Aitor Perez may get this in his first Tour de France. He's gritting his teeth, and I think he did on the line. They've gone 1 kilometer to go for them now. Denis Menchov will keep pressure on here. Every second counts for the final victory in Paris, and that's what they're racing for, although fourth pace would be very nice. As now we've got here, Contador just grits his teeth and tries to hang on amongst the wheels.
Well, Contador now has got the advantage of having a lot of riders in this group who are very happy to put time between themselves and Andy Schleck, and I think that's because everyone was very fearsome of the performance of Andy Schleck in the mountains, including Alberto Contador in this group.
These riders will come in all the same time here now, and the two twins there, Menchov and Sanchez, will remain locked together in the battle for third place, but they're moving clear of the field. Sanchez grits his teeth. Is he going to be allowed to come home in fourth place? It looks like he might be, because no, there's a kick by Contador on the right here. Even Contador gets the corner first and comes off the bottom bend. He's going for gold here himself, just to prove a point and take the fourth place, but he's not going to get it. It's going to be taken off him on the line. John Gadre will get that as he's chased by Luke Roberts. As they come over the line, the time starts now. The 31 seconds is on. He's chased back really, really well. There's 15, 16 seconds gone. Grit your teeth, because now he's fighting to keep yellow, and I don't think he can do it. 23 seconds has gone now. The time has passed. Now the yellow jersey goes to Alberto Contador, and Andy Schleck will have to rethink his tactics now. He's out of yellow by about 8 or 9 seconds.
It was 8, a 39-second swing that saw the yellow jersey pass from Andy Schleck to Alberto Contador. Schleck had lost time to on the men in third and fourth, Samuel Sanchez and Denis Menchov, just under and just over 2 minutes behind him now. But what had Alberto Contador lost? Well, very possibly the goodwill that's followed him since his first Tour win in 2007. The question was whether he should have waited, or at least not attacked, after he saw Schleck with mechanical problems. He had waited, of course. The whole field had waited when Schleck, not in the yellow jersey at the time, had crashed along with many others in the rain on stage 2 to Spa. No one had waited for the various crashes that had held up Contador and others on the cobbles of stage 3 when Schleck had been driven into pole position by Fabian Cancellara. That was just racing. But was this? As instant polling of public opinion goes, the spontaneous verdict of the crowd at the finish line was impossible to misinterpret. Not even a lip reader could tell us what Andy Schleck said as the two passed each other behind the podium. An eavesdropper said it was short and Anglo-Saxon. Schleck himself said he just asked Contador how he could have done that to him. Here's what they both said to us.
Cuando he atacado ha sido antes de que él tuviera ninguna avería, ¿no? Siempre tenemos una relación muy buena y siempre hemos tenido una deportividad grandísima, ¿no? Incluso en otras situaciones como por ejemplo la de Spa, que bueno, ahora queda muy lejana, pero él tuvo una caída grandísima y esperamos constantemente. Y cuando yo he atacado hoy, yo no sabía que él tenía ningún tipo de avería, ¿no? Entonces por eso no le di más vueltas.
I am pretty angry inside, yes, but I mean, you know, like I said, they waited for me in Spa, so that was really fair, and chapeau for that. Today, you know, guys haven't panicked, you know, they take every opportunity to take seconds on me, but, you know, I can handle that like a champion, and whatever, the race is not finished, and I will take my revenge the next days.